Yeah, Nagant is pretty badass. Yeah, she got some cool looks, man! Freaking badass evil waifu, man! So this is clearly Ken Yasuda. I don't know if people didn't pick out this overhaul, because I all heard immediately with his voice actor. Yeah, I don't know why she keeps him around, but you know, it's almost overhaul. But that was like... So then it got considered, I really like how she's like the first person to really target Deku. Because she's like, yes, but, you know, from like an actual bad guy coming in here, every other bad guy, Deku's kind of in their way, right? Which is like the first one to really be like, I mean, you purely go after you, boy, right? So, quite a different kind of enemy here. So yeah, Lady Nagant comes in, right? And as it immediately, yes, it was pretty okay, but it certainly was like, you know, the ending, right? The last 5 or so minutes, because of Oppice, but the last 5 or so minutes were clearly the highlight. Yeah, like the last 5 minutes were interesting. You see, of course, the new bad girl, right? And she's a pro, right? She's hired to kind of go after Deku. She's doing just, you know, petty crime, whatever, right? Now, I mean, most people Deku fight are kind of like, either they have their own, I say, evil agenda, right? Oh, I'm gonna conquer Tokyo, or whatever, right? Or, you know, they do something else, right? Oh, I'm doing these evil experiments, whatever. But I think she's like the first person to ever like straight up be like, oh, I'm here to like just go after Midori. Yeah, Deku is like, this is the guy I will, you know, defeat. Her whole goal is just to get him, right? So that makes her interesting, definitely, that she is like just there to assassinate the main character and completely disregarding anything else, right? Because normally, I guess that the bad guys are like, again, they're fighting Deku, right? Because he's trying to stop them from whatever plan they have, right? Deku they have a plan, as I said, they have a plan to do X thing, and Deku blocks them from doing the X thing, right? But they could basically ignore Deku if they wanted to, right? Many times, so they kind of try to ignore him. Some of the bad guys, right? You know, depending on the context, what's happening, right? Which is, you know, true for most hero stories, right? But here clearly he's like, I'm after you specifically, right? So that makes her very, I think that's really interesting, and I really like this introduced. She kinda threw a canister at the Batmobile, right? Kinda gets the comb, so she's a very pro, right? She kinda convinced that this is how I do it and so on. So yeah, she might be a very dangerous person for Deku then, as she's actually trying to get Deku for once, right? And knows about his powers and so on. I assume she knows about everything. I love that scene when she, you know, interrupted him. That was hilarious, yeah. He was sort of telling her, oh, I want you to go after this Deku guy. Okay, here's his powers. He was like starting to gonna, you know, like, I'm gonna flashback for you, girl. And she's like, shut up, let's leave the island. And I was like, I'm tired of talking to you. That scene was great. That was one of the best scenes, man. I was just like, she was like, I'm tired of this crap. I don't want to hear your like sad backstory and explaining to me how his powers works. Can we just go first? Yeah, like, I want to stay in this place. That was perfect, man, because that was hilarious. I mean, the episode had a lot of, you know, flashbacks, right? And they started a flashback. It started like, here's this flash, here's this All Might guy. It's like, no, it's like, no, not more of this. It always felt very fourth wall meta. She's like, I'm tired of this shit. And like I said earlier in the reaction part, I used yesterday finish Fire Emblem, and it really reminded me of Fire Emblem actually, straight up, right, where we see all the emblems coming together, shining, and it was very similar here, with all the inner Dekus coming together and shining. But one thing it also reminded me of yesterday in Fire Emblem, the end of the game, you have all this character coming in, blah blah blah, and then you have Gold Mary, and she's like, can you stop this shit? Yeah, because there's so many characters doing, like, every character in your TV Fire Emblem, 14 characters, say one line. Oh, I'm the cutest character. They all do that in one, you know, like, here's my line, right? And then Goldmare's line is like, this is stupid. Can we stop does ever have to have a line? We have like 27 people having one line each. It takes forever. It's like kind of a fourth wall. She's like, I'm tired of this. Can we just go on? Can we start fighting instead? Like, I don't want to see all your lines all the time. It felt a bit with her scene. Yeah, she was like, I don't want more flashbacks. She was like, no, stop the flashbacks. Because definitely the bad part episode, right, to speak right, it is unfortunately very common for My Academia, and it started in season 4 or so, right? You know, I'm talking about, yeah, the recaps, right? The episode wasn't like, of course, terrible. The other episodes have way more recap, so it's not the worst. But it felt a little bit like, I haven't read the manga yet, but we have, for example, them sitting in the car and discussing Hawks, like discussing Deku or whatever, right? It still feels mostly very recap, right? Instead of having maybe Hawks giving like, here's my opinion about this, right? And it can be like maybe, I don't know, 2-3 lines from Hawk explaining his opinion, right? It mostly feels like he's just like narrating, this happened with Deku, and then this thing happened. And then Beth sees like, yeah, I see, yeah. And he also says something, and it takes like 2-3 minutes to like, go over their opinions about it, but it mostly feels like it's a recap with a little bit of their opinions over the top, right? And it also makes me, you feel kind of weird watching it, because it is clearly mostly a padding out recap again thing, right? But it has like a few, like I said, it has a few new lines, right, from these guys in the perspective. But it's kind of mixed in with just recap. So you kind of like, where's the stuff I actually want to hear? Where's the actual new stuff, Because if it's a sentence, it's like, here are 3 new words, 5 recap, and then 3 new words. These 6 words around the recap is what's interesting up until 7 minutes. But it's kind of like, I just want to get that part, right? So it's a little bit, it feels a little bit like, man, if you could like stop this. But it is unfortunate with this anime that this season is much better. Don't get me wrong, this season is much better, right? The previous, yeah, much better. This season is overall is better. I mean, the storyline is better, the pacing is better, so on. But they're also better with the recaps. They have way fewer recaps. But still, this episode probably had like 5 recaps, right? Like 1 minute here, 1 minute here, 1 minute here. So I don't know. We had a lot of.
過敏になるのも分かりますが、よく見てください。このだから家にこもっている。にこれ以上のヤツ自身が望んだこととはいえ。しかし潜伏に徹してますね連中。脱獄。
So Deku's really become Spider-Man now, right? And I really mean it, right? Because this episode, what I like with this content is because it feels a lot more Western comic, right? Some had the bad bits on, but Deku is like lurking around, trying to find the bad guys, Kind of like Spider-Man and Batman. So he's sitting there on the rooftop being like, where are they? But also he's talking to himself, right? Like sitting on his pitch like, yes guys, He opens his web swinging around so on. Obviously, hero daughter is like Spider-Man and then Batman being so, but he swings around Spider-Man. But the whole thing is sitting there, swinging around, talking to himself on this rooftop, and just like, I am the knight. Like, he really has become the Batman / Spider-Man character now. He's like, yeah. Second one. That scene was kind of good. He was like raising his hand, and he was like, okay, I got your hand. Yeah, like that's when it started. When you grabbed my hand, and we became friends. That's like when it all went down. But yeah, it was interesting seeing them all gonna give Deku tips and so on. I kind of like it, and you see the other guys throwing in some lines to Deku. You're gonna do this thing now, boy, and so on, right? And what I comment the most is I really feel that Deku turning into Spider-Man, right? A lot, and obviously the anime manga is always inspired by, Western comics, DC, Spider-Man, so alright. I mean, obviously he has a Batmobile, clearly it's Batmobile, so alright. But especially this part felt very Spider-Man, like he's talking to himself. He's like has inner monologues with his, but now he actually has inner personalities though. He does actually have inner personalities. Spider-Man's just crazy. Spider-Man just talks to stuff out in there. He just sits there and talks to his gargoyles and so on. But the thing is that, I mean, this episode, and earlier too of course, but this episode was incredibly Spider-Man, because Deku is sitting there on the rooftop, right, like looking after bad, like Spider-Man, standing there looking after bad guys, talking to himself, and then he swings on the skyscrapers, and now he's like, he's like, not even trying anymore, you know what I mean? But I think that what I'm coming to mostly though is that, yeah, I liked the episode how that felt, right? Because last episode didn't really have that. Last episode is fighting muscular, right? But this episode here, it really felt like Deku was turning into, again, that kind of Western comic book here, right? A lot more so, how he's like out and, on the prowl, trying to find the bad guys, yeah. Otherwise, Batman, whatever, and so on, yeah. Most of these heroes, right, that we have in the American comic books then, both Marvel and DC, many of them are like that. They're out, on the city, they're trying to find the bad guys, right? They're doing all this stuff. They're sitting there lurking, right, waiting for something to happen. Oh, I hear a police alarm. I'm gonna jump over there, That's very Spider-Man, He's sitting there waiting, and there's something happens, right? I gotta swing quick down, yeah. Deku really did that now, yeah. He really sat there, waited for stuff to happen, all that stuff, right? So definitely interesting. And also the whole scene with Lady Nagant, Also felt very Spider-Man, to be honest, though. It feels incredibly heavy Spider-Man. It feels very heavy Spider-Man, right? In the sense that Spider-Man has that thing happen to him all the time too, right? Where he's like becoming a hero, and then, for example, I don't know, smite someone comes after him, you know, like Alistair, yeah, for example, in the classic Spider Hunter arc, right? And then they send these 3 robots after him to you know, assassinate Spider-Man, right? So also very common Spider-Man that he's doing this hero thing, jumping around, saving, you know, ladies or whatever, right? Like the episode F1 begins, and then suddenly Kingpin pays Smite and his father, Spy Senior to send Spider Hunters after him, and suddenly someone, you know, snaps Spider-Man or whatever, right there. So it feels very, very similar to the episode in Spider-Man when they start coming after him. The more I think about it, the more it's incredibly like Spider-Man, yeah, because they have basically the exact same scene in Spider-Man. He sits just like Deku, and then he shoots him, yeah, from the back. He's like, "Oh no, they're coming after me!" And then and the exact same, basically, the storyline too, where the bad guy coming after Spider-Man isn't really caring about Spider-Man. And he's just like, "I'm doing it for the money." Yeah, I'm doing it but it's a job, you know. This guy gave me new powers. I'm doing it for the money and resources. Yeah, it is incredibly similar. Think about it. Spider-Man has a lot of those. Yeah, but also Spider-Man has a lot of those, like, work for hire bad guys, like, you know, Shocker and Rhino and so on. They mostly also hire for money. Kingpin mostly, I guess, hires people that care about the money, I guess. But the more I think about it, oh my god, it's incredibly like Spider-Man. Yeah, the whole scene is actually straight up as 2 episodes of Spider-Man. And Spider-Man Taz has the exact same scene happening, basically, when he gets shot. So. The more I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, it happens there. But anyway, I still like it, right? It feels very Western comic then, yeah, right? It's out hunting instead. I was trying to find the bad guys instead of you sitting there at home in school, right? And like I said earlier, beginning of the reaction, it certainly feels like, why wouldn't you quit school if it's like, oh, I can join All Might and Endeavour and so on, the best guys. It's kind of like, you know, going to Harvard, like Zuckerberg, whatever, leaving there to found Facebook, whatever. It's like, I don't need to get a degree, I already have this company. A little bit of that. But anyway, guys, please see you guys. Today we have Nier coming back tonight, right? Which is awesome. So Nier's back, Vash, and it's no Mo anymore. Yeah, Arno's got cancelled instead. 1 out, 1 in, right? So we've got Nier instead today. But also that it needs a much better anime together. But so anyway, so you guys have a great day.